Hey guys, how's it going? This video is kind of just a trip report, boat report type thing. I got a really cool opportunity this past weekend to go rafting with a whole bunch of friends. The weather was kind of good, kind of crappy at the same time, but it was really fun. And this kind of Friday, Saturday double trip thing, I got to take out the Cub a lot, my new Raft, and I had a blast doing it. Many of you may have seen me set the thing up. It was a really easy setup, and since then I actually did get the thwarts for it, so it's feels like a completely different boat than the first few times I took it out, because the first few times I took this Cub out I didn't have the thwarts in there. It was a really unsettling feeling when you hit a wave or you hit the side of the boat you're sitting on a wave or a rock, and it feels like you're almost about ready to tip out of the boat. But now that I've got the thwarts in there, it feels like a completely different boat. It feels like a boat that can take on anything. And this past Friday, Saturday, it proved that to the point of my local run anyway. My local run that I do a lot is of a kind of a class 2, class 3 type run. It's nothing too big, especially right now with the water level down. It's kind of more of a rock dodge than anything else, but it was a fun time. And the Cub was absolutely awesome during this run because of its smaller profile in the water, because of how maneuverable it is. I could get between rocks, I could get spots other boats couldn't get, and I just had a blast doing it. So I keep saying it was a Friday, Saturday run. I did 2 trips this past week. I did a Friday trip with some friends and then a Saturday trip with some friends. So let's talk about the Friday one a little bit. The Friday one was kind of special to me because I was out there with some friends who, to some extent, were actually having their maiden voyages with their boats. This was not the maiden voyage of the Cub. I'd actually taken it out a couple times before that, like I said. But it was a really nice feeling, and you know, I had a good feeling, and I was really honored to be out there with those guys as they were taking their boats down for the maiden voyages. Not all the boats were brand new. There was a couple of boats that were used, and one boat that was, you know, it was new, but it belonged to a gal who took this kayak. It was an inflatable kayak, the Aire Spud, which is a really small little playboat kayak. And I've seen her take it down the main salmon before, so I knew she was solid, she was good. But it was just a really special feeling for me to be out there with all those guys and kind of their maiden voyages and that stuff. And it was a trip where I was basically the trip lead on the trip as well, because this was my local run. This is the run I did for the company I work for, so this is the river I know the best. And it was a fun trip, definitely. And it went really smooth. I mean, everybody was kind of testing their boats out, doing a little bit of this and that, trying to surf in waves we could, trying to catch eddies on my part, you know, just really experiment with my Cub and, you know, figure out what I can do with it and what I can't do with it. There was one rapid we did stop at and scout out a little bit. It was the most technical rapid on that stretch of river. It's called Beartooth Drop. And if you follow me on my channel, you've seen this drop before. If you've watched my Facebook feed or the Facebook feed for the company I work for, which is Absaroka River Adventures, you've seen this drop featured before. It's a pretty easy run once you get to doing it fairly often, and it's an interesting rapid because for whatever reason these past few years it's been changing all the time. The drop itself used to be a complete drop across the river. When I was little, I always thought you could put a big bus in there and it would disappear completely, but that's of course when I was little, and everything looked bigger when you're little, of course. But a few years ago, the drop broke due to high water, and it actually started forming a kind of a V shape like this, kind of off to one side, river left. So you're right about here as you're looking at it. And for some odd reason, for the years after that, it just kept changing. The slot, which it's been come to being known as English, but that slot has been changing a lot. It's kind of been moving back upstream, which is nice because there is a bridge right after the drop where you have to avoid a bridge pillar, and this slot gives you the opportunity to do that, and it's not pushing you right up against the bridge pillar, which is really nice. But it seems to be like every year we always run it just to see how it's changed, and there's a whole bunch of locals who run it as well, and they always ask, well, is there anything different with the drop this year? Has it changed? Has it not changed? And you know, our answer for the most part is, well, it's like center left, run the slot, and you know, miss the bridge pillar, you'll be fine. And that was the same thing that happened on this trip. It was really simple from my standpoint, although again, I do run this a lot. It was really nice for the group. There was only 4 of us on this river. We actually stopped there and scouted it. There was one member of the group who he was running a Fat Cat with a frame on it, but he was not really that experienced of an oarsman. I think this is like a second or third trip on the oars, so you know, it was really great for him to stop there and take a look at it. And then I ran it first in the Cub. I will tell you right now, I was kind of a little iffy about it because this is the first kind of big thing I have running the Cub solo. I did this drop before with a partner in the boat, and we sailed straight through it, but this was just me in the boat. And you know, I was a little iffy about it, but you know, I had the most experience on the river, so I ran it, you know, showed him how to do it, and then to an extent I played safety man and, you know, snapped a few photos at the bottom of the drop as everyone else came through, because there is a very convenient eddy kind of down river left just before the bridge you come to. That is a nice spot to stop, you know, regroup and keep going from there. So that was probably the most technical part of this whole Friday-Saturday thing, and it was an absolute blast. Like I said, I felt really honored to be out there with those guys on their main voyages of their boats, and it was just a really fun time. Saturday was another really good trip. We got out there. We were talking about this the day before. It's like, hey, we could run the lower section. We could run the lower section of the Stillwater, where you're on the Stillwater, and as you can tell from the video, it's not still at all. So don't go off of the name all the time. And then so that was a lower section, and then we came back up to the middle section the next day, and it was another really special spot because we got to celebrate a friend's birthday. It was kind of her birthday float. Anyway, it was just fun to be back out with them. It was not quite as a technical rapid, or like a big rapid section as the lower part is right now. What the middle section of the Stillwater is at the moment is a bit of rock dodging, and another spot where I was very happy to be in the Cub because of how maneuverable the Cub is and how skinny it is. I could squeeze between rocks. At times I could actually lift up on one foot and actually raise the unoccupied side of the boat and getting that one side up and over rocks as I'm paddling through gaps, and it was just an awesome time. There's also the spot I really experimented with, grabbing eddies after rocks in the middle of the river, and, you know, kind of doing some micro surfs. They're not really big. I wouldn't really call them the best surfs in the world, but you know, I'm working my way up there. I've never really gotten a big surf in ever. I mean, there have been times where I've stuck a boat in a rapid, and you know, a second later it's popped me back out, which has been I'm very thankful it did that, because it would have been a mess, to say the least, if I had flipped a boat then. But working on my surfs, working on my eddies, you know, just having fun out there. Everybody was having fun, and it was just an awesome day. I got to show, I went with the same friends I went with before on Friday, and I got to show them another section of the Stillwater, which was absolute blast. I got to kind of drag them down or point them down spots on the river where, you know, they're not always rafted or, you know, always seen as spots you could go rafting or paddling. But it was definitely a fun little spot, like that little diversion dam I went over. Very fun spot. One of my favorite spots on the Stillwater, especially with customers in my boat, because you know, that drop always looks bigger than it actually is. Customers kind of, you know, a little freaked out about it by the time they see it, but after that they're always wanting to go back up and do it again. So it was a fun little spot to show other people through, and you know, just have a fun day running it. After that, my thoughts on the Cub is I'm extremely happy with it. As I've told you before, those thwarts made a world of difference. Definitely a good way of locking your feet in the boat. I'll go over a video if you don't really understand locking feet into a raft. It's definitely a video of its own, and I do want to talk about that once the weather clears up here a little bit, because it's currently snowing outside. So I'm going to stay inside, going to stay warm. But very happy with the Cub. I'm definitely looking forward to taking it on bigger rivers, bigger rapids. You know, just pushing my limits on that, and I can't wait to do that. So that's my kind of 4 trip impressions of the Cub, because I've only had it out 4 times now. I want to do a bigger kind of thought and you know, video at the end of summer. Hopefully by then I'll have taken the Cub out more times than that, and I plan to take it out more times than that. But other than that, I hope you guys have a good day. You know, my shop's always open if you guys want to take a look at the shop, and I hope you guys have a good day.